I repeat, we cannot change the past. But Christians and Jews can unite, and we can control the future. 50 million evangelicals with 5 million Jewish people in North America is a match made in heaven.
Biblical Zionism is the belief that the Abrahamic covenant, either in part or in full, has never been abolished.
The Bible is very clear in Joel 3:2 about not dividing the land.
It is the only country in the world where God actually outlined its borders and parameters and gave it that land.
This is one of those areas where we're standing in firm biblical soil.
Therefore, we don't question the Word of God, we just obey it.
So if there are political ramifications, okay, so what?
يعني فيش ولا عقل ممكن تقعد يتسمع ويستوعب شو اللي بيصير.
You don't want to tax on Tel Aviv, you don't want to tax on Haifa. Of course, every state has the right to self-defense, but you don't build a wall on other people's property.
Many of the human rights violations that are taking place in the West Bank flow from the government's interest in protecting and perpetuating the settlement enterprise.
So, I don't know, does supporting Israel mean that we fully support every one of those policies?
What has happened is that we as evangelicals have endorsed an Israeli domestic policy that has placed over 3 million people under military occupation and has created the largest refugee population in the entire world. And you have to ask yourself, why is this defended by the Christian church? How is it that we don't see the suffering of so many people who are made in the image of God?
Our theological position are putting us for one group of people against other group of people. For the Jews against the Palestinians, or for the Palestinians against the Jews. And that's wrong. I am promoting and saying theology of reconciliation, a theology where the justice the Palestinians are seeking will be met and the hope the Jews are looking for will be met.
For today, we have a very interesting topic, a topic that is very challenging, and it's the challenge of Christian Zionism in the context of the Palestinian-Israeli conflict, in the context of what's happening here. And I was given the title, Christian Zionism and the Conflict. And the question is, what are the views that the peoples of this land have towards Christian Zionism? What are the views of Jews, Christians and Muslims when it comes to Christian Zionisms? And with the thanks to the media department, we're going to do this presentation as a joint presentation between my talking and some reflections and insights that we're going to listen to video. So let's listen to the first views done by Palestinian Christians locally on Christian Zionism.
The Kairos Palestine document is the voice of Palestinian Christians who are calling for justice to the Palestinians. This group made up of Christian leaders, Palestinian Christian leaders, are basically saying that God is a God of justice and it can't be possible, since we're created in the image of God, that we are lacking a right to life. And the second, then, Christianity is about the good news. And where are the good news for Palestinians? The news that promote life rather than death. we find this is lacking. And allow me to read something from this document that was written by these Christian, that says, therefore we declare that any use of the Bible to legitimize or support political options and positions that are based upon injustice imposed by one person on another or by one people on another, transform religion into human ideology, and strip the word of God of its holiness, its universality, and truth. I'm a Bethlehem Christian, and Christianity is very, very dear to me, and I find Christian Zionism is creating a very serious schism in the very whole idea, the whole philosophy of Christianity. Even the reputation of Christianity in the world today, when religion really matters, I believe, and can be a source of peace.
Well, you see, the Palestinian people, both Christians and Muslims, are locked in a serious existential conflict with the Zionist movement. Some would say we are the victims of Zionism. We certainly are enemies and in conflict with the political Zionist movement. So Christian Zionism comes and says, we are clearly on the side of your enemies. We are clearly on the other side. But not only are we clearly your political enemies, we are doing it in the name of Christ. We are doing it in the name of Christianity. There is basically no room in Christian Zionism for Palestinian Christians. We don't exist. Christians and Zionists are one. The Palestinian people and the enemies of the state of Israel are on the other. And we as Christians don't exist. To the extent that we exist at all, we have to negate ourselves. We have to betray not only our people, but we have to betray our identity. Maybe create some other name for us, call ourselves Arameans or something like that. Because Palestinians, by definition, are in conflict with Zionists, and if Christian Zionism is true, they're in conflict with God and with Christianity. And then the challenge comes to Christian Zionists themselves. Who are you? What do you believe in? What are your priorities? Are you genuine Christians who happen to have political views and differences? Or are you primarily political activists on behalf of Zionism who use their Christianity to promote their political agenda rather than the real love of Christ?
So from these videos and from many views, we see two major components here when it comes to the Palestinian Christian struggle with Christian Zionism. And what I want to try to do very briefly is to create a new understanding of how we should be looking into this understanding of Christian Zionism. So the first is the theological disagreement. Very clearly,